Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something fundamental, reported speech in English.
Yeah, how we talk about what other people said.
Exactly. And it seems straightforward. You say, he said, but then things start changing, like tenses shifting back, pronouns swapping. I'm tired becomes she said she was tired.
Right. It can feel a bit, well, arbitrary sometimes if you just look at the rules on paper.
So that's our mission today, to go deeper than just memorizing. We want to figure out the logic behind it,
Mm-hmm.
why those changes usually happen.
And crucially, when they don't have to happen, when do native speakers relax the rules a bit?
Exactly. Because they do.
Yeah.
We want to get past the textbook and see how it actually works and maybe, why it works that way.
Okay, let's jump in. What are the sort of foundational principles, the big rules that everyone usually learns first?
Well, the first big one is usually the tense shift,
Yeah,
the back shift, they call it.
right. That feels like the main event.
It often is for learners, yeah.
Hmm.
The basic idea is when you're reporting something someone said back then in the past.
Mm-hmm. The verb tense often takes a step back in time. So if the original was simple present, like, I feel happy,
Okay.
you'd usually report it later as, he said he felt happy. Past simple.
Present becomes past. Got it. What if they already used the past tense? Like, I watched the game.
Good question. So past simple typically shifts one step further back to the past perfect.
Ah,
So I watched the game becomes she mentioned she had watched the game.
right. That makes sense. It sort of puts the watching clearly before the mentioning.
Exactly. It sequences it. And for the future, like someone says, I will call you,
Yeah.
that will usually becomes would. She said she would call me. It makes it conditional, viewed from the past reporting moment.
Okay, that framework makes sense.
Yeah.
You're looking back at the original statement. But it's not just verbs, is it? Other little words have to change, too.
Absolutely. Pronouns are a big one, obviously. And words about time and place. They're all anchored to the original moment of speaking.
So you have to kind of re-anchor them to the moment you're reporting.
Precisely. Think about, I am here now.
Simple enough.
But if you report it later, I changes to he or she. Here might not be your here anymore, so it might become there.
And now is definitely not now anymore.
Right. Now becomes then. So that whole sentence, I am here now, could easily become, he said he was there then.
Wow, okay. So lots of little adjustments. Can you give a few more common shifts, like this or today?
Sure. This often becomes that, giving it a bit more distance. Today usually shifts to that day. Yesterday can become the day before.
Okay.
So something like, we are meeting here today, could transform into, they said they were meeting there that day. It's all about updating the context.
Right, fitting it to the new reporting context. Now, there's another fundamental point about the verbs we use to report, specifically say and tell.
Yeah.
They're not interchangeable here, are they?
No, not at all. And this trips people up quite a bit. The key difference is the object the person you're speaking to. Well, say generally doesn't need that object. You just say something. She said she was tired. You don't need to mention who she said it to.
Okay, makes sense.
And tell.
Tell needs an object. You always tell someone something. So it has to be, she told me she was tired, or she told her boss she was tired.
Ah, I actually have a funny story about that. A friend was trying to gossip once and said, very seriously, he told he was sick.
Oh, cool.
And our other friend just bursts out laughing, like, told who? It just sounded so wrong.
That's a perfect example. Your ear just knows it's missing something and needs that who. Understanding might not break down completely, but it's definitely awkward grammar.
Okay, so tense shifts back, pronouns and time-place words adjust, and use tell with an object, say without. Seems solid, but English loves exceptions. When do these rules not apply?
Right. This is where it gets more flexible, more intuitive, perhaps.
Yeah.
A major exception is for general truths or facts, things that are still true.
Like what? Scientific facts. Exactly. If someone said, the sun rises in the east, you'd report it as, he said the sun rises in the east.
You wouldn't say rose.
Usually not, because it's still true. It's a constant fact. Shifting it to the past would feel weird, almost implying it stopped being true.
Okay, that makes total sense. The reality hasn't changed, so the tense doesn't need to. What else?
Another big one is when you're reporting something that's still relevant or true right now as you're speaking.
How do you mean?
Okay, imagine your colleague said this morning, I live in London. And you know, they still live in London when you're reporting it later that day.
Yeah.
You might very naturally say, she said she lives in London. You could say lived following the rule, but keeping it present emphasizes that it's an ongoing current situation.
Ah, I see. So the present relevance can override the strict backshift sometimes.
Often, yes, especially in conversation.
Yeah.
And there are also some verbs that just don't really change much.
Oh, like which ones?
Modal verbs,
Hmm.
particularly ones like should, might, could, would, ought to, they tend to stay the same.
So if someone said, you should leave.
You'd report it as, he said I should leave. The should keeps its original form. It already carries that sense of advice or conditionality.
That's handy. Fewer changes to worry about there. Now, you mentioned a sort of pro tip about these exceptions.
Yeah, and it's quite important, I think. Basically,
Okay, can to could. Makes sense. What about must? That one feels a bit less direct.
it can be, must, especially for obligation, often changes to had to.
Ah, okay.
So if the original is, I must finish this report, you'd likely report it as, he said he had to finish the report. It frames the obligation in the past.
Got it. Must becomes had to. These are definitely the finer points. Now, another area that changes quite dramatically is questions, isn't it? It's not just the verb.
Oh, absolutely. The whole structure flips. You're taking a direct question and turning it into an indirect question, which actually looks like a statement.
Right. The question mark vanishes.
Exactly. And the word order often changes. For yes-no questions like, are you coming?
Yeah.
You usually introduce it with if or whether, and the word order becomes a statement like, she asked if I was coming, see how was comes after I.
Yeah, not if was I coming.
Correct. It follows the pattern of a subordinate clause.
So if or whether for yes, no. What about questions starting with what, where, why, etc.?
Those words act as the connector. So, where's the station? Becomes, he asked where the station was. Again, notice the word order. The station was, not was the station.
Okay, so the question word stays, but the rest becomes a statement structure. That's a key shift.
It really is. It's moving from direct inquiry to reporting that inquiry.
Right, so after all these rules, exceptions, tricky bits.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of funny how often you hear native speakers just not doing them, especially in casual talk.
Yeah. Yes, this is where theory meets reality, and reality is often messier or maybe just more efficient.
So what's the most common rule bending you hear?
Probably skipping the tense backshift altogether, especially with the simple present or present continuous.
Like the lives in London example?
Exactly. Or you might hear someone report, she said she's feeling unwell even if the conversation was an hour ago. If the feeling is presumed to be ongoing, the present tense feels more immediate.
So it keeps the relevance front and center.
Precisely. And then there are the really informal ways of reporting.
Ah, yes. You mean using things like,
Bingo. It was like, and she goes, ah. Very common in storytelling, especially among younger speakers, perhaps, but pretty widespread in informal chat.
so I was like, no way.
Exactly. And then she goes, that's amazing. It's less about grammatical precision and more about conveying the immediacy and the tone of the original exchange. It's almost like performing it.
Yeah, it feels more dramatic somehow.
It does.
Yeah.
And another thing you see is mixing direct and reported speech.
How does that work?
You might get something like, he said he was feeling a bit under the weather. The main structure is reported. He said he was feeling, but then you get a little direct quote slipped in.
Ah, using the exact words for emphasis.
Right. It keeps the original flavor, the specific phrasing. She told me she's totally over it. That totally over feels more impactful, perhaps, than just saying she told me she was completely over it.
Okay, so natives skip backshift for relevance, use like or go for informal storytelling, and mix in direct quotes. It's quite a spectrum.
It really is. So the big takeaway for listeners trying to get the hang of this,
What would you say?
learn the rules first. They give you a solid foundation, and they're essential for formal writing or situations where precision matters.
Right.
But also, tune your ear to how people actually speak. Notice when the rules get bent. Understanding that flexibility and why it happens is key to sounding natural and understanding nuance. Know the rules, but know when they're optional.
Great summary. Know the map, but understand the actual terrain. Now let's make this practical with our listener challenge, Reported Speech Spy.
Okay, 2 parts to this. First, spot the shift.
Yeah.
When you're watching TV, listening to something, try to catch reported speech in action.
Like he said he'd be late.
Exactly. And when you hear it, try to think backwards. What were the original words? Probably, I'll be late. It trains your brain to see the transformation.
Nice mental workout. And part 2.
Part 2 is test the rules. Take a simple sentence, maybe I can't come. First, report it using the standard rule. She said she couldn't come. Say it out loud. Does it feel right? Then, maybe in a really casual chat, try reporting something simple without the backshift. Like, if a friend texts, "I am busy," try telling someone else, "She said she is busy." See if it feels natural in that context. See if anyone bats an eyelid.
Huh. A bit of grammar experimentation.
Yeah.
We actually got a note from a listener on this. They wrote, "Heard they said they're leaving. No backshift. Proof natives do break rules. Hashtag reported speech rebel."
See? Perfect example. It happens all the time. That listener is now officially a reported speech spy.
Love it. Okay, so wrapping up this deep dive. Reported speech has core rules, definitely worth knowing, but real-life usage is flexible. Master the basics, then observe and understand the variations.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And maybe a final little thought to take away, slightly tongue-in-cheek.
Go on.
Next time you hear someone make that classic mistake, she told she was sick,
Yeah.
you can just quietly think to yourself, told who? It'll help cement that say versus tell rule.
Perfect reminder.
Yeah.
Excellent. And looking ahead, our next deep dive tackles another fascinating beast in English. Why English seems to love the passive voice. And more importantly, when you can actually use it without sounding weird or, evasive. Because mistakes were made is the ultimate example, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That'll be a good one. Looking forward to it.
Us too. Until then, keep listening out for all that reporting going on.